Christmas Abbott is here. Let's get started with give your background story about how you got into fitness.
Oh, man. Well, I was working in Iraq as a civilian contractor. And
doing what specifically?
Specifically, I went over as a laundry attendant initially.
Okay. All right.
And over the 4 years that I was there, I worked myself into camp operations and just, kept running after the next thing. I was in country within a few weeks. We had mortar rounds come into my camp.
Wow.
And it will literally wake you up physically, mentally, emotionally, your life.
Yeah.
And I had a real clear epiphany. I was really fortunate in a weird way to be in a war zone, to have that clear of an epiphany of you have to change your life, because what I had been doing for the last decade was stacking the odds for me to end up killing myself by the decisions that I was making.
Wow.
Drugs, alcohol, crazy situations. I did it all. And that morning, I will never forget it. I just knew that I needed to do something different. And I wanted something better. And that didn't mean that I felt like I deserved it yet. But it was just one of those clear aha moments that if I don't change something, I could see where I was going.
And so when you say drugs, alcohol, like kind of just give a quick picture of what your life was like before that.
So I started kind of smoking my parents' cigarettes around 9 years old, regularly smoking. Like my dad was buying me my cigarettes at 13. Smoking pot at 13, drinking at 13, and it just escalated from there, dropping acid, coke, whatever I could get my hands on. Early 20s, dove into a lot of like meth and, just, blackout drunk, didn't matter. And, I was a rock and roller. I didn't care. I didn't have self-worth, but I had also been lying to myself that I did really care. And I kept trying to mask that lie or the truth through drugs and alcohol. And my mom convinced me that I should take a job in Iraq. And I was like, okay, well, this is going to be something different. I really didn't put any forethought into what that situation was going to look like. I mean, why would I? I was completely irresponsible with my own well-being.
Right.
And I harassed the company until they gave me a job. And took the job, just completely blind confidence, and found myself 3 weeks later in country at January 2004 and dodging mortar rounds, not knowing what to do because I didn't pay attention in class. I quit drugs long enough to pass the drug tests, went into country in a war zone, still was drinking and smoking and, getting blackout drunk in a very active war zone. So it was the wake up call. The wake-up call.
Wow. And it's crazy because you would never picture that you had that background. If I just met you, as I just did, I would never think that. You seem like someone who's always just had it together and been super healthy and positive and energetic. And
I got you fooled. No, and I'm open and on. I think that it's important for me to be open and honest about my background of why I got started into fitness. But it also kind of, we were talking about some really amazing people in our lives. And this past year was just as transformative for me as that year was, in a weird way, where I didn't have that epiphany like I did. You know, like I said, not everybody's fortunate to have bombs come into their life and let you know where you want to take your life.
Right.
But I did have one of the most intense years of my life collectively the entire time, where my heart was broken, my body was broken, and my spirit was broken. And I had to crawl out of hell. And I had not had dark days like that since my early teenage years.
So I want to dive into that a little bit more, but just real quick. So you're in Iraq, just to backtrack. And then how do you get started training and getting into fitness?
Well, the first thing that I thought at that time was like quit smoking. That's the first thing I do.
Okay.
It was not automatically. It took me 3 months to set myself up for success, to hold myself accountable, and to gather the courage to do that. And then, so it's kind of like people starting CrossFit. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then they, it takes a little while for them to build their confidence. That was the same thing. So it happened. And that was like the first time I actually felt proud of myself. And so I was like, okay, what's the next thing that I can do? And I didn't necessarily enjoy these new changes, but I knew that they were better than the old way of my life.
Yeah.
And so I ran a mile on the elliptical, and I will promise you that I got annihilated. Annihilated. I ran probably the slowest mile that anybody could ever imagine. I mean, I didn't do fitness in high school. Like, I was not an athlete.
Okay.
And it wrecked me. I could not walk for a week. I mean, like, I was like, fuck fitness. That's dumb shit.
Yeah.
That is real dumb.
Right.
And then, you get stuck into this like purgatory of, well, I don't want to do that, but I also don't want to go to my old life. So I just tried something different, and I tried the elliptical, and that was my savior. Like, that was my gateway drug to fitness.
Really?
And I'm just, because the elliptical, I got on there, I could just cruise, and I could just watch all the cute soldier boys and like kind of go my own pace. And I committed 20 to 30 minutes 3 times a week for a month.
Okay.
And that's literally what was my segue into doing something more. And within a few weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, I just felt better.
Yeah.
There was no major change in my body. But I just felt better. And then I was like, okay, what else can I do? Like, the endorphins started to kick in, and I never felt good with anything that I had done before. So I was like, okay, give me more of this. And then shortly after that, about 6 months after that, I found CrossFit, and just,
And that was it.
I mean, I was real bad at it.
Yeah.
I was really bad at it. But
And
yeah.
you've never really lifted before?
No,
or at all?
never.
At all?
Never.
Yeah.
Like, when I tell you that I was not an athlete until my mid-20s, I mean it. Like, I was 22, and the mile literally took me out. Like, a mile. I was like, okay, well, if we get invaded and the camp gets overrun, I'm being left behind.
Right.
They're like, oh, she's cute, but we're leaving her because she can't keep up.
Yeah. So then kind of take us through the evolution there, because now people know you as, huge influencer and super fit human being. What was the progression? And did it, because you had that background of drinking and drugs, like, was there a point where it became almost addictive, an obsession for you that you had to kind of tame it a little?
Yeah, I can definitely say that. I think that anybody that there's definitely severities of addiction, right?
Yeah.
I am definitely one of the lower severity of addictive personalities,
Okay.
where, but I'm also very headstrong. I'm not going to allow myself to lose control of my body like that. And for me, the progression, it became not about fitness anymore after a certain point. It became about living this life that is my fullest potential.
I love that.
And I'll get excited. Like, I will get really emotional about this. And that's something beautiful, because everybody had always told me no, and I was a victim of my circumstances, and I used that as a crutch. And instead of, and I preach now, like, stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the leader of your changes. And I want to leave this life, having not my story own me, but having it be a part of my entire story and part of my legacy, where it's all about what you put into what you leave behind. And I just want to live this life to my full potential. And that means lots of failures, lots of face plants, lots of mess ups. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's an experience, and I'm going to learn a lesson from it, or I'm going to learn how bad I really want to do what I'm doing.
And so how do you go from, you just get into CrossFit, you're just starting to lift, the mile had crushed you.
I was really bad at it.
To kind of, building your first, building this brand and this lifestyle company that you've created. Like, what's the transition? And what were you doing for a living, like, to make money when you got back from Iraq and you just started training?
So when I got back from Iraq, I had turned down a job with Northrop Grumman.
With who?
Northrop Grumman.
I don't know what
They
that
do. They're in DC. Like, it was a beautiful job, but I was just like, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Like, I've always just kind of gone with whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And people were like, that's real dumb, Christmas. You're forfeiting a 6-figure job to go and see what happens in the world.
Yeah.
And so I moved I moved around a little bit, but I ended up settling in North Carolina. I was waitressing tables.
Okay.
I was like just slinging beers, working at a CrossFit. And then it was really organic. It was not intentional. And I know that people get pissed off about that. But once I figured out what I could do, it was very intentional. So what got me started is I had opened a gym in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho before I came to North Carolina.
Okay.
I kept the dog, he kept the gym. And we're still in good graces with each other. And the girls just kept asking me at my work, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And I was like, go to this gym. It doesn't, like, I don't want to teach you.
Yeah.
Because I had a little bit of a bitter taste about that gym before. And finally I was like, okay, I'll teach you 3 days a week for a month. That's like kind of my theme, right? Okay. and they kept coming back. It's like feeding a stray cat.
Right,
like,
right.
They're like, hey, teach us again. And I was like, man, didn't you just learn? Can't you go do this yourself? They're like, no, we want you to teach us. So I ended up teaching boot camp, and they asked for a gym. And so I saved all my money from the boot camp. I opened the gym. I was literally on food stamps. I could not feed myself where I was. And remember, like a year before, I had forfeited a 6-figure job. So this is a real humbling moment.
Yeah.
And, I...
so how long did it take to save up for the gym?
About 8 months. Okay. So I had my first boot camp in 2009. I started it again in the spring because I had it outside. Okay. Just hijacking the park, not paying permits.
Yeah, right.
I've always been a little rebel. And so I think March was the first boot camp. By the 3rd month, I had 4 classes, and we were rocking and rolling. And I saved every penny that I could for opening the gym. And I opened the gym in December 2010.
Nice.
And it's kind of that year was such a growth year for me to see what my capability was, because there was no other option. There was no plan B. And people were like, oh, you always have to have a plan B. I'm like, no. Yeah. That just means that you're setting yourself up for something 100%. Shorter than what you deserve. So I just knew that it was going to succeed, even if I didn't know that no matter what I was working 15-hour days, 7 days a week. Yep. You just make it work. So.
And what were some of the growing pains or the lessons you learned in building that business?
Man, I don't know if we have enough time.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's if you listen to your community, they tell you what they need. That is my biggest thing. So I had a business partner eventually come in, and we didn't work out right away. And that was kind of dumb on my part because I didn't believe that I had the capability to do it myself. And I did have the capability of doing it myself. And it just went south fast. And instead of pursuing legal action, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to cut my losses. I'm not going to care about what they're doing. And I'm going to focus all of my intention on my community and making this the best place for them to come to, and not something that is sore subject. And it thrived. Yeah. And so I just turned it around. So listen to your community, and they will tell you everything. Everything else business-wise can be figured out. Right. There are so many blueprints out there, but if you don't give a shit, your community is not going to grow. Yeah. You're going to be sitting there with your thumb up your butt wondering why nobody's in your place because you just aren't listening, and you're not caring, and you're not present.
Now, were you building your local training facility at the same time you were building your online presence, or did that come later?
It kind of came later. My friend, so the reason that the online presence started was because I really wanted to video myself for technique reasons. Okay. And so then I would just like post them, and I'm like, oh, I'm really working on this. Yeah. And
you
people
were just
started
them, on Facebook or something?
Yeah, Facebook. Okay. And then my friend signed me up for Instagram, and I was like, what is it? This is so dumb. So dumb. A year later, he comes back. He's like, you have not posted anything. I was like, I don't know what to post. And he was like, whatever you love, Christmas. That's all you do. Like, just post what you love. And then it started from there, and I started posting my videos on Instagram. And it was just, a very organic growth. And I think that I got a lot of recognition because I'm such a fierce competitor. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm super sunshiny right now, but if you get in my way, I'm going to rip your head off. I'm going to eat your soul. Okay. Remember that? Yes. And I think that CrossFit hadn't seen somebody that could keep up with the big girls, be as fast and as strong. And, CrossFit gave me a lot of love. And then the fans that were following me on my page gave me a lot of love, and it just started this natural avalanche. Yeah. There was never a point in my life where I'm just like, I think I'm going to be a fitness star. Right. Like, I would have laughed at myself. I'm like, you're an idiot. Not that that's what you shouldn't do, but it was all because of, I think my tenacity just showed through.
Yeah. And so when did you realize, okay, this kid has really huge potential. Let me start really putting some focus into kind of building and growing this thing the right way, and then maybe hiring people. And
you're going to laugh about this. Like maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Okay.
I mean, I was like, it's that imposter syndrome.
Right.
I am really proud of my athletic career.
Yeah.
I've worked really hard, but at the same time, I still have a little bit of that little girl that was lost for a long time. I'm like, look, these lifelong groomed athletes are at the same venue as me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around, I'm like, it's kind of fading a little bit more. But there was never a point.
But see, I think that's what makes you so endearing and why people like you. It's part of it, certainly.
I guess. I don't know. I just want to lift heavy weights and run fast and like do all the things that I never thought I could do. It's magical.
Yeah.
I love coaching specifically when you have this person, you're like, oh my God, I can never do that. That's impossible. And then a week later they're doing the impossible, and you see their complete demeanor change, and you see them have that aha moment of like, holy cow, what else can I do?
Right.
Just like I had years and years ago. And that transforms you, and that confidence
bleeds over
boost.
into every aspect of your life, your business, your personal life.
Yeah. There is
so
not
cool.
one piece that it does not touch.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
And so you talk about coaching there. How often these days are you on the floor coaching people?
Ooh,
You're so busy with other stuff.
I hijack a class or two at Invoke. So my gym is CrossFit Invoke in North Carolina. And I'll hijack a class or two. Or I'm just kind of like the creepy one that they're like, who's that girl walking around touching people and putting them in line and like just being their personal cheerleader? That's me.
Yeah.
I love doing that. So occasionally I get to coach there, and I'm getting ready to move to Tampa, and I'll be coaching at Cigar City.
So you're going to keep your place in.
Oh yeah,
okay.
that's my heart. So I'm actually going to be splitting my time between the two. Okay. My team is in North Carolina, and it's funny because they don't do like the social media presence. We just run the businesses. That's my passion, is like fitness, business.
Yeah. So I want to dive a little deeper on both of those. What is a typical week of training look like for you? Like how often are you lifting? How often are you doing conditioning?
It's changed drastically over the last year. Actually, technically 2 years. So when I was at the American USA Nationals for weightlifting, I had my first cherry bomb. So I totally crashed out, and I was bawling before I even got off the stage. And I just overtrained. I pushed my body too far. So I had to like kind of rehab it. It took about a year, and then I ended up having to get surgery on my knee. Okay. Not because CrossFit or anything. It's just I did 3 pro sports in the matter of 6 years.
Wow.
In NASCAR is all like I'm sliding into the car every single time.
Right.
So I did a lot of wear and tear. I made up for lost time. Like lots. And so I had surgery, and then I had a pretty devastating early 2017. And there was a time that I didn't even leave my house for a month. Yeah.
What happened?
It was a 1-2 punch. Me and my ex-fiance broke up, and then in the same week, I had a very, very dear friend OD on heroin. Oh man! So it was just, and then coming out of like surgery, and then not having been able to train the way that I want to for a while, which is my therapy. Right. It was a downward spiral for me. And then I went into Big Brother, went into a psychological game, and I came out, and I was just like shell shocked.
Yeah.
So I can't remember where I was going with the injury. Well, so my training. Yeah. Now it's just I'm trying to do a lot of stuff to rebuild and rehab my entire body. Okay. So it can be balanced. I'm not really interested in competing. I'm just interested in like finding a good way for my body. So the week I rotate through CrossFit. So I'll try and do that 3, maybe 4 times a week. Okay. Not a lot. And I take class. Like I'm in it with my people. And so is that the regular CrossFit workouts, or do you customize it at all for yourself? It'll be still customized because I'm not doing box jumps yet. I'm not running and jumping. Okay. But I'm doing regular CrossFit class workouts, and sometimes I'll sneak off to the side afterwards and do some Oli lifting. Mm-hmm. And then I combine it with a flywheel spin class. Yeah, I know. It's like people laugh about it. I'm like, it will mess you up. And then I've been doing yoga practice pretty regularly, which has helped tremendously post foot break. I honestly don't think that I would have progressed as much as I have without that. And then the fourth item is my PT. I'm regular with my PT. We have an 8-year standing relationship. And I go twice a week. Even when I wasn't injured, I'd go for maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is yoga something that you added recently? You hadn't been doing yoga in the past.
I had been doing yoga in the past, but not as consistently. Okay. And I used it as a stretching restorative class versus like stretching. It's a lot more emotional connection, breath with my body, right? Versus just I'm going to use this to try and combat the damage that I did with CrossFit, you know? Yeah. So I'm finding a new meaning for it, and it's radical. Yeah. Just radical.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you do something every day, pretty much.
I try to. Yeah. A lot of the times I just get busy. Work, I'm not a full-time athlete anymore. I don't have to revolve my life around eat, sleep, train, and poop. You know? And I travel a lot, so I try and do something. And I'm getting to be able to do more and more now that my foot is healing.
So for those who don't know, how'd you break your foot? What happened
there? It's real funny. 6 years of literal competing between 2 sports for the entire 6 years, and then 1 solid year of NASCAR, which I was also competing in cross. That's when I went to regionals also for CrossFit and nationals for weightlifting. So I had 3 in 1 year and then 2 all the other years. And I was on Big Brother, and it was 2 weeks into the house. It was July 3rd, and it was day 13 in the house because you have to count all your days. And I got on Cowboy's back because we were just so excited to get up and start our day. Uh-huh. And I got a piggyback ride. He slipped on the turf, and we both fell on my foot. When we fell on my foot, it fell folded. Oof. So I have what you call a Les Frank fracture, meaning that it's broke. It's not fractured. It went up and back, and I broke, instead of the metatarsals on your toes, the growth plate. I broke 10 bones in my growth plate. Wow. And 4 toes dislocated, the tendon holding the foot together, and then the main nerve was severed from the Les Frank fracture.
So the worst possible break you could have.
All of the bad things. Yeah. And my doctor, who's one of the best surgeons in LA, he's like, well, it looks like a bomb went off on your foot. Jesus. Which is kind of funny because the bomb with Iraq was the epiphany, and then this was right. Without this break, I wouldn't have been so destroyed last year, and I wouldn't have had such clarity coming out of the year. So I guess, I just got clarity for my next epiphany. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Glad to work that out with you.
So talk a little bit about, you mentioned how it was, an awful year and all the stuff you went through. So how do you kind of battle back from that and turn things around? And then even on a regular basis, let's say today ends up just being an awful day. Every single thing goes wrong. How do you bounce back from adversity?
It's funny because you don't even have to have bad things to go wrong in the day for it to be a dark day. Yeah. And I think that that's important for people to understand too. For me, coming out of the house, I had constant anxiety. I had, I don't know.
How long were you there?
I was in the house 92 days.
Wow.
So just to let you know, you do not have any writing materials. You do not have any reading materials. You do not have any music or information from the outside world. You're in solitaire with 15 other people because it takes you out of the game. Oh, okay. It's isolation.
Yeah. Okay.
And so you can't write, you can't read, you can't express, I love social media. It's not a strategy for me. It's a therapy for me. Yeah. And, you get all of that taken away, and I was already in a very vulnerable place, and it just crushed me. It crushed me. Man. So coming out of the house.
When was that?
That was this last summer. Okay. I got home September 21st, a couple months ago. Yeah. 6-7 months ago. And I came home, and I was just in a constant state of I don't even know the word. I don't know. Just, I was awful. I couldn't, I was shell shocked. That's all I can say is I was shell shocked. So I just listened to music. To be quite frank, I smoked a lot of pot on my back porch, and it was the only thing that I could combat with the anxiety because I refused to take medication. Yeah. And I refused to drink because of my friend's experience. Sure. And that was the safest drug for me to be able to use. And I used it as a conduit or a bridge. So I would write, meditate. I was not able to work out yet. And so I was still like, only thing I could do was real modified yoga and occasional spin, because I could use my other leg with spin. And I just leaned on a lot of friends and just processed it, sat in it for a little while. Yeah. Journaling was huge. Meditation was huge. And just allowing myself to feel everything and reflect, and giving myself time and not trying to run away from it and out of that feeling before I was ready.
And I imagine it's got to be extra hard for someone like you, because your whole thing is fitness. So it's not like someone who owns a restaurant can't train for that long. Like, that's got to be really mentally crippling.
Well, it was my original therapy, right? Yeah. That's how I got pulled out of that lifestyle. And, I found myself inside my head a lot and in very, very dark corners of it. And, no light in sight, and not knowing if there was going to be. So you just have to trust that time will do what it needs to do. Yeah.
And so how do you finally start to pull out of that and feel like yourself again?
Man, it took a little while, but there was eventually it becomes where like you have a good moment. Yeah. Just like one, and you're like, wow, that's different. And over time, over the course and talking to people, actually talking to a couple people that were active military, their stories, it helped me a lot. So talking to some of my Iraq friends, talking to some of the veterans, working with companies that, Companions for Heroes, listening to their stories and working directly with them. Also reading some of the messages from the people that would, I got sent messages and notes and letters about people watching me on the show persevere and seeing my struggle, because I was real open about it after the show, that I was the reason that they decided to stay in sports or that they decided to do something. But specifically, I have a handful of letters talking about how they did not commit suicide because they saw me just push through.
Wow.
I mean, like,
that is crazy.
How can you, like,
yeah, man, that's nuts.
And it stops you. It takes your breath away.
Right. Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
So eventually, you start pulling yourself out of it, and not even pulling yourself out of it. You just kind of grow out of it. Yeah. I saw something recently. They're like, hey, life is going to bury you so you can blossom again. And that's exactly what happened. And come New Year's, I went down to Florida and I kayaked to this island, and I wrote down my list for 2017 of all the bullshit that I went through. I wrote down exactly what I wanted to have in 2018, and I burned that list, and it felt so good. It was exactly what I wanted. And my other friend, not the same one that had an issue before, but she was like, Christmas, this is one of the best New Year's that I've ever had, and one of the first ones that I remember. I was like, still making positive impact. Yeah. And just, that was the first day that I actually felt elated and happy. And I was like, okay, like, we're having more better days than not now. Yeah. Yeah.
2018's off to a great start. 2018. Things are good.
Crazy enough, we were just talking about this. 2018, January 2018, hands down, one of the best months of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Me too, actually. That's great. Yeah.
I dig that.
I know so many people who 2017 was their worst year.
I know.
And these last 6 or 8 weeks, whatever we are into the year, is amazing. I don't know. It's crazy.
I'm so happy that it's working out for them too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Back to just a few more specific fitness things. Like, what's your typical diet like?
I wrote the book, Badass Body Diet. I still live in that way of, I don't weigh and measure anything because I just don't want that kind of, I don't need that pressure. Yeah. I'm not an athlete, or I'm not a pro athlete anymore. But I just eat a really healthy, trying to eat whole foods as much as possible. Yeah. I eat bread with butter. It's delicious. I'll eat, my brain's getting dumb real fast. A protein, a carbohydrate, and a fat every meal, every snack. Like, that is my trifecta.
Really paleo.
Nah, fuck that. I get too lean on paleo. It's not enough. It's not enough dense carbohydrates to support my lifestyle. Yeah. So, like, I love grains and quinoa and, starches. And yeah, I'll eat bread.
Is there anything you avoid?
Drugs? I don't know. No, I don't know. I mean, I'll eat bread in moderation.
Okay, yeah.
I try not to eat all vegetables because I do need a starchier carb or a heavier carb. I tend to, just be smart about it.
I think it's great to hear, for people to hear you say that, because so many people go ultra low carb and they get burnt out and they have CNS fatigue and they can't recover. And
they get stupid because your brain stops functioning. You need this stuff in your life.
Right.
And I'm like, and this is not.
A lot of people, when they add carbs in, they get leaner too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what? It works for you.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
An excess of carbs, not so much, but that is so easy to control once you know how to get the fundamentals. And I don't think that anybody should start any sort of diet until they have the fundamentals and understand that. And no diet regimen is long lasting. Nutrition and positive nutrition eating is long lasting. That is lifetime sustainable.
Yeah.
Educating yourself on what you put in your mouth is real important.
Yeah. So I love the long lifestyle approach. If someone's hasn't trained in forever and they come see you, what's kind of like a general plan that you give them just to get them started? And maybe they're not going to Olympic lift. Like, what's a general outline of what you give somebody
for training or nutrition?
No, for like a workout program.
Okay, let's get the fundamentals.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have them squat. I'm gonna have them do a push up. We're gonna run a little bit. Okay. We're gonna jump. We're gonna do all boot camp style workouts.
Okay.
And then
3 days a week.
Yeah, that is great. And we'll do that for about 3 to 4 weeks. And over that course, I want them to create a connection of their mind and their body. That kinesthetic awareness is huge. I don't care if you come in 10 days, in a row. If you're flopping around and you have no connection with your body, we're not doing an improvement. We're not doing a service to you. So I want to keep them, especially in the very beginning, is to teach them how to activate their body and to be able to control their body.
Yeah,
and then we can start layering in the fun stuff like a deadlift or a press.
Right.
And then, once we master the fundamentals again, we can get to the fancy things.
Yeah. And would you change anything if you could go back about how you train? Obviously, you said you were doing too much and you were overtraining. And now I would imagine that you think of training.
My ego would have told you different.
But when you think of, all right, I want to be doing this when I'm 85, 90, anything that you would not do or do differently or maybe stop doing?
That's why I kind of ran with fitness, because I was like, oh man, I can, be 85 chasing my grandchildren and keep up.
Yeah.
And then you get, my competitive spirit was born. I call it my baby monster. It just jumped out, and that kind of went out of control for a while. I don't regret anything that I did, and I don't want to take anything back.
Yeah.
Maybe that piggyback ride. But,
right.
For me now, it's all about just wellness and making my body as good as possible. And, I have to shelf that ego occasionally because that ego feeds the competition spirit, right?
Yeah.
There probably will be things that I take out that I'm not interested in doing anymore. Okay. And that's okay. People are like, oh, I shouldn't do that because of, okay, cool. Well, as long as you're still training your body to be wholly strong and not just what you feel is comfortable, then do what you need to.
Because so many people, and I'm sure you see this all the time, we get into fitness so we can move better and it can transfer to the rest of our lives. But then we beat the shit out of ourselves and make ourselves worse. And people, so you got to find that balance kind of.
There's some accountability in being an athlete. And when I say athlete, I mean everybody.
Yeah.
If you go to the gym, you're an athlete.
Right.
Guys, pro athletes, don't kill me for that. But that's what I call them, right?
Right.
So people are like, well, CrossFit's dangerous. Well, if you get in a car without not knowing how to drive it and take off, you're probably going to wreck. It is very dangerous.
Yeah.
So it's your responsibility to, 1, look at who your coach is, and 2, make sure that what they're teaching you is legit. Do your own homework. Figure it out yourself. Don't blindly just let somebody lead you throughout this path that could potentially harm you or be the best thing that you ever do in your life. Yeah. So take some responsibility for your own actions. get a little spicy.
So in your first book, you kind of have the training plan laid out that we discussed, and the nutrition plan, and then in the Badass Life, what is that about?
That is about mindset. That is about, the balance. And, I really wish that I could have wrote that after 2017. A lot of, and I won't say that I would have changed a lot. Like a lot of that stays true to me. And actually I read my own book and it like helps me, Yeah. But there's so much more that I would like to add on the why behind it and how doing these practices and the work serves you. Because some people will know what to do, but just knowing what to do doesn't mean that you're actually doing the work, and they're confused about it. And they think that because they have a good life and they know what to do and they kind of do it sometimes that it serves them. But, you have a rude awakening, or life kind of throws you into this whirlwind, and then suddenly you don't know how to do the work.
Yeah.
I really wish that I could add a lot more of that reason behind the why versus just the actionable item on that. So it is all about habits and how to do the work.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about habits. Like, just give your thoughts on how to create habits that you can stick with, and maybe mistakes people make.
Yeah. I think the biggest mistake people make is that trying to break a bad habit. That's their idea. How about let's try and build a good habit? Whatever you focus your attention on is what's going to grow. So if you think about anything, whether it's food, schedule, people, of depriving yourself from them, you're still going to think about it. Like, you're not really removing it. You're just putting a negative twist to it.
Right.
But if you shift your attention, much like I did when 2010, like when me and my business partners, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about what they're doing. I'm going to put all of my love into this place and make it positive. Then if you think about that, of like, I get to go work out as a reward, not I have to. Just shifting the way that you think about things, and it will absolutely change your experience, and it'll be easier and faster to implement. So mindset on the way that you look at it is huge. Accountability, also very huge.
Definitely.
You don't need one buddy, you need like 5.
Yeah.
And you need this pact. And if somebody falls off, you call them. So, and make sure the buddy is accountable.
Do you always train with somebody, like a partner, if you can?
If I can, yeah. I need that buddy accountability too. Yeah. Guess what? Like, training by yourself sucks.
Right, it does.
It's so lame. Yeah. And I did it for years because I had to. And again, I didn't give myself another choice. But now I'm just like, I'm in the gym by myself. I'll just kind of get on social media and like pretend like stretch, and I'll do the lion stretch, and then be like, okay, I worked out. Bye. Yeah. Accountability is huge. I like to do intervals, or like begin, end date. I think that we need an end date.
Yep.
We need to be able to know where the end of the light is. And people will start a training program or whatever with just like, I'm going to do this forever. You are lying to yourself. Like, get with it. So I always tell people, I'm like, look, go try a new class at a new studio for a month.
Yeah.
Commit to the schedule, like put it into your work schedule, whatever it is. Invite your friends to have that scheduled too, and buy the passes, sign up for the class, and you have created this really great accountability. Definitely. If you paid for it, you're going to show up.
That's such a great point, because you have to have that end date. And like, anyone can commit to 30 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just think it's something I'm going to do forever, it's really hard if it's not in you, like if you're not obsessed with training and fitness. Yeah.
I need an end date. My end dates were CrossFit Games. My end date was nationals, and I mean, there were times where just like, that thing is so far away. So I tell people, especially when they're getting started, just commit for a month, and on that last week, decide what you're going to do for another month at that location or a new place. Okay. But before it's done, go ahead and set up that next appointment.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of morning routine or anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mornings are really kind of sacred. My mornings, like when I wake up, I like to spend a little bit extra time in my bed. So normally I try to make sure I don't have to jump out of bed and run. Excuse me. And before I even get out of bed, like, I'll set my intention of the day. I'll do meditation. So I use the Calm app.
Okay.
Excuse me.
How long do you meditate for?
10 minutes.
Okay.
That's it.
Yep.
Like anything beyond that, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, me too.
My nighttime is a little bit longer.
I used to be able to do 30 minutes, but I can't anymore. I can only do about 10.
It's not even necessary.
Right.
Like 5 is sufficient.
Yeah.
In meditation, I really didn't understand how to meditate properly, or not how to meditate, but I wasn't as efficient with it.
Okay.
You know, because I would sit there and I was like, thoughts, calm down.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm struggling and like, this is dumb. It's like going to the gym yourself for the first time and being like, okay, I'm going to teach myself how to do Fran.
Yeah.
Like, not okay. So the Calm app specifically helped me tremendously because it has a lesson every time. It tells you how to do it. It works through your breathing. Yoga helped me a lot. And so in the morning, before I even get out of bed, I meditate. And then I get out and I do like my morning ritual of like brushing my teeth. And, you know, like I have to go through this checklist.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go eat breakfast, and I'll try and journal for a little bit. If I don't get to journal in the morning, then I journal in the afternoon.
And what will you write in there?
I write everything.
Okay.
Like it's kind of like, you know, the diary, you know?
Just whatever's on your mind.
Whatever's on my mind, whatever's in my heart. And sometimes I just don't even know. Like I'll pick it up throughout the day sometimes and just express it. And sometimes a lot of the times I won't know what I'm feeling. I'll start writing it out and it actually comes to surface, like what the real issue is or the solution. I find a lot of solutions in my yoga class.
Okay.
A lot of clarity in my yoga class. It'll come too. And then I start my day.
And then, so what is I know it changes all the time. How do you stay productive and decide like what to focus all your energy on and determine, okay, what's my most important task for the day?
I'm a list maker.
Okay.
So like, I love lists. And before I go to bed, so this is one of my rituals before I go to bed, I'll write down the things that I need to get done. And I'm realistic about time. I used to just like fill my day to the brim, not productive for my soul. Right.
Totally.
So I'll just kind of look at it and prioritize what I need to, figure out the timeline, and make sure that I have time to eat, make sure that I have time for myself. And anything that doesn't get done, I either push off or I'm like, Jenny, who is my operations girl, I'm like, Jenny, this just isn't going to get done.
Okay.
Like it's not worthy of my attention right now. And that is okay.
So give us a glimpse kind of inside your world and your business. What are some really important things that you work on during the course of a week? Like what do you have to do?
You know, it changes because business is always growing.
Yeah.
And recently I've been, you know, this has been a 5-year endeavor. I'm launching Christmas Abbott Nutrition April 1st.
Okay.
This thing is amazing. It's like it is the biggest project that I've done to date. And it makes everything else that I've done, like it's just everything else I've done has been building up to this. And it's been in the works for the last 2 years, building the last year and a half. And it was an idea, an attempt with multiple failures for the last 5 years.
Okay.
So the last couple weeks, the last month or so, we've just been refining these lesson plans because what it is an online nutrition coaching program. And it's education based. So you sign up, we do an assessment, we assign a range of macros for you, and we also ask you your commitment level. So commitment level is going to be like, hey, within that range, I'm going to try and hit that 60% of the time. So I want people to understand that perfection is not possible.
Right.
Not possible. And we're teaching them that in this program. But we're also teaching the fundamentals of nutrition. And I'm working myself out of a job with every person.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is that I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible.
Okay.
So each week you get a lesson plan, which also gives you a challenge of like, hey, this week, let's look at your carbohydrates and figure out how much of what category you're eating, you know, for great, good, you know, paleo, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And we give you a challenge to implement for that week. At the end of the week, you get a grade on accuracy, like how close you were to hitting your macros, but also how close you were or how well you did by the challenge that we gave you.
Oh, cool.
Every 2 weeks, we remeasure. So we are actually updating your macros as you are going through the program. Okay. So it's like real live up to date.
Yeah, serious.
So if you have a goal for 2 months and you sign on, you're like, hey, I'm only going to give you 70% effort or accuracy. If you end up doing better and giving us 75%, we're like, hey, you're actually going to be there in 7 weeks instead of 8 weeks. It gives you real time goal setting.
Cool. Wow.
The last thing that's super amazing about this, which I did not create because I am not this smart, always hire smarter people than you, right?
Yeah.
Be the visionary, but have somebody else understand how to put it together, is that it has a smart scan, food scan.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we've tested this out. Like we had a Brussels sprout, bacon, smash, egg thing. And we took a picture and it was like almost like a casserole style.
Mm-hmm.
And took a picture of it and it listed all the ingredients.
That's incredible.
So all you do is press like plus half a serving or a serving, which we teach you how to do that. Okay. And it automatically logs it for you.
Wow.
You cannot fail on this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like my grandma can do this.
Right.
And it's amazing. So the Food Snap is going to be like just so amazing. So it's web-based, but it has an app. I'm excited about it. It launches April 1st. It's radical.
Sounds like you put a ton of time and effort into that. Sounds incredible. Yeah.
I poured my life savings into this.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Oh my God. But it's one of those things before, like I finally believe in myself enough to know that I can do this.
Yeah.
And if it's mildly successful, we're going to be able to change thousands of people's lives that didn't understand nutrition, refused to accept, think that they could change their life through nutrition.
Right.
And they're going to change their life because of it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, how often are you traveling?
All the time.
All the time?
All the time. Yeah. All the time. So that's kind of one of the big lessons is like eating on the go.
Yeah.
I'm an expert.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you find it pretty easy to stick to your diet on the road?
I find it easier now that I'm not training all the time.
Yeah.
In a way that I'm a little bit more relaxed about my diet or the way that I eat, because I'm not training for performance. I'm training just for life, or
right.
I'm eating for life, and it's good. I still have a good body composition, and that's by knowing the fundamentals. I stick to the fundamentals.
Yeah.
If I feel like I'm getting kind of one way or another, then I know what to do to change that, and that's just through the education.
And you're on the road how often? Would you say how many weeks a year? Or how many weeks out of a month?
Usually like 3.
Oh, 3 weeks out of a month?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm slowing it down real soon.
So it's appearances, and then what else?
A lot of it's work related. So I'm out here in LA. I'm filming for my BBX, my online workout programs. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to DC. I'm doing a speech for entrepreneur empowerment.
Cool.
January is super fun, so I get to do Wadapalooza, SHOT Show, another event down in Texas. So it's really kind of this amazing combination where we consider that one pillar. That's like one pillar of the business. So we have the BBX, my online workouts, Born Relentless, my supplement company, and then
Is that fairly new?
It is new. It was just born too.
Nice.
I have some here for you.
Oh, awesome. And how's that going?
It's going well.
Yeah.
I love it because I literally got to craft the recipes. And people were like, oh, she didn't do anything. I'm like, no, I did all of this. Like I had a mad scientist put it together, but I told him exactly what I wanted, picked the quality, and, he put together the combination. It was like, I need a minimum of this, this, and this. Okay. And we worked together on the recipes.
Nice. What products do you have?
Currently, I have a BCAA, I have a pre-workout, and I have a nighttime recovery.
Okay.
The joint supplement and the protein is coming out this month.
Nice.
Yes.
How long did it take to bring that to fruition?
A year.
Okay.
A year.
Of big projects. Yeah.
Yeah. And people were like, what are you doing next? I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and just tend to these beautiful companies that I've built and just make sure that they...
So what you were, I cut you off when you were listing. Was there another one?
So those are the 3, BBX, and Born.
Yep.
And then the 4th pillar is kind of like the glitz and fun stuff that people see on social media mostly. Yeah. And it takes a lot of the time, but I'm trying to slow that down a little bit and be more selective about my travel.
Well, I was just going to ask you what's your decision-making process? Because you probably have so many opportunities and things to do. And how do you decide what to say yes and no to?
There's certain events that I'm just like, this is on the annual calendar.
Yeah.
Soar Next, Summer Strong, Wadapalooza, SHOT Show, and the CrossFit Games. Those things are always going to be on my calendar. Mm-hmm. And beyond that, just random stuff comes up. We sit there and weigh like where we are with launching the company, or like where we are with the company, where we are with my Shira mode, which is I call it. There's like Christmas, there's Wonder Woman, and there's Shira mode.
Okay.
Shira mode is like when I'm on the road all the time.
Yeah.
Like I just gotta be the universe gladiator.
Right.
And I don't know, we sit down and we make sure that if it is something that I'm interested in, does it align with the core values of the company, and does it align with the legacy that I want to leave? And if it doesn't, it's an easy no.
Yeah, that's great. Now you say we, how many people do you have on your team?
Ooh, full-time staff, I have 3.
Okay.
And that is going to expand soon. But outliers, I probably have about 6 or 7 outliers, just in other various, just partners of some sort of affiliation.
Now talk about, as an entrepreneur, how important it is to have a team and outsource stuff and not do, because as an entrepreneur, you can try to do everything yourself and then you just burn out and implode. Yeah.
We always try and do everything ourselves.
Yeah.
You cannot succeed to where you know you can without a team. And that means allowing somebody to fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, just like
and
I tell my
team.
Decisions. Yeah. Oh yeah, I have another guy. So we have 4. Sorry. And the thing about that is that you're going to always be able to do it better. But how much better is your time spent doing something else, spearheading that project, making sure that everybody is doing what they should be doing? And I don't mean micromanaging. I mean like seeing your vision, making sure that they're on par with you, making sure that the structure of your business is working well. And it's important to remove yourself in order to be able to serve the company even more.
Yeah.
And
great
that's
points.
I mean, Jenny, my operations girl, she's gotten to a whole new level, and which resulted in the whole company being able to go to a whole new level. Because now I can come do stuff like this, and I don't feel like I need to check in with the team every day, because they're doing what they need to be doing, and she's rocking it out.
So would you say, for someone who owns their own business, having a person like a Jenny first and foremost is the number one hire?
Yeah.
Like, kind of that point person who runs everything?
Listen, I'm a dreamer. I'm a thinker. I'm like, I can do the grunt work, and I have for years. And Jenny saw that. She saw the struggle. She saw everything, but she's an executor. Okay. Like, she is an organized executor. She's like my front force wall. Yeah. And that allows me to be able to do what I do, which is the magic of the company. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they are not an executor, you know? So if you can get somebody that is going to support you and see your vision and be an executor, it's a game changer. And then you can build your team from there. But, you know, and I don't mean like bring them at the top right away. Right. But to find that finisher, and to know like what your strengths are and what your strengths are not.
Definitely, that's super important.
Yeah, her strengths are stellar.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do what she does.
Right.
I don't want to. Like, everybody that's on my team, I don't want to do their job.
Yeah, exactly. Christmas Abbott, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Oh, man, it's
share your websites and everywhere people can find out all you have going on online.
ChristmasAbbott.com. It's super easy to stalk. It's my Instagram is Christmas Abbott, and if you sign up for my newsletter, I send you a weekly treat. It's just about like mindset stuff. It's like a real short, sweet thing, but you also get all of the in the know and special discounts and rates before I launch anything publicly. So It is. I don't spam you. I don't do anything like that. We just give you the goods.
Awesome. And I just want to say to everybody listening who may be a fan of yours but might not get to meet you, that you are in person as you appear, just super nice, super genuine. Like we met and I felt like I knew you for 5 years instantly, which is super cool. So thanks for being an amazing person. Thanks for being here. Guys, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you next time.